Good day and welcome to our webinar. My name is Heidi Cerfontyne. I am the Education Curriculum Manager for Nimue and Anchor Skin and Body based in South Africa. Today I have a very exciting topic that I'd like to share with you, and that is Nimue's 10 delivery systems and why this is one of Nimue's points of differences. That we have delivery systems taking our ingredients to allow them to work in the skin and not just on the skin. So when we look at various ingredients, we need to ensure that they are getting into the skin in the best way possible. And this is the reason that we have chosen various delivery systems to enable us to get the ingredients to the target area. Now, we have not just made use of one type of delivery systems or two types of delivery systems. For example, we have chosen 10 different delivery systems, and that tells us that we are looking at specific delivery systems to take specific active ingredients into the target area. So, what makes a delivery system unique? Well, firstly, as mentioned, it allows us to take these unique ingredients that allows us to penetrate into the skin and to reach the desired level where that ingredient will be active. And that is the beauty of a delivery system. Now, Nimue has 10 different delivery systems. And it is a delivery method, taking an ingredient from A to B within the skin. And our 10 different delivery systems, which you'll see on the left-hand side, they may look familiar. Some of them are new to, your understanding of delivery systems, and others you may question and think, well, why is this a delivery system? So today I'd like to take you all through the understanding of the different delivery systems and how unique they are to Nimue and our formulations. Before we move into the actual delivery systems, I'd just like to touch on key areas of the skin. One being the skin barrier. Now, when we think about ingredients entering into the skin, we need to ensure that the skin barrier is healthy, that it is not compromised, because this will allow us to ensure efficient penetration of our active ingredients within their respective delivery systems. If the barrier is compromised, you can see that there is a breakdown and removal of key essential lipids and proteins from the surface of the skin. This will then allow for transepidermal water loss. So, of course, we have an escape of water. And with the breakdown of lipids and proteins, it then causes an increase in penetration of irritants and allergens into the skin. What is the result? We will then see skin dryness, erythema, irritation, and itchiness, and a state of inflammation if the barrier is compromised. The next part that is important is the acid mantle. Now, the acid mantle is what is on the surface of the skin, and it is made up of sebum or oils from your sebaceous gland, and then also sweat, your amino acids and lactic acids. And they create an acidic substance on the surface of the skin, and it is enabling the skin to fight off bacteria and various other threats that is going to negatively affect the skin. And this acid mantle creates an acidic pH on the skin when it is in balance. When the acid mantle is impaired, you start having a reduced immune response. The skin is not able to sufficiently fight against what is threatening it. We start seeing inflammation. increased transepidermal water loss, the skin starts becoming very thick and perhaps also flaky in some areas. And of course, the Langerhans cells, keratinocyte cells, melanocyte cells, their DNA units are also under threat of damage by the free radicals. Then, of course, the stratum microbiome. This is a layer on the surface of the skin that functions very much in conjunction with the acid mantle. And it provides a home to many, many various diverse bacteria, fungi, viruses. And that is what we call the skin microbiota. And the skin microbiome, it provides the skin with an inhospitable environment so that it is protecting us against anything that is threatening to affect and then damage the skin. So, of course, when the microbiome is in balance, you can actually see that there is inflammation and redness and oxidative stress. The immune system of the skin is also compromised. There's a definite correlation between a balanced microbiome and a balanced skin barrier. And when the one is out of balance, the other will in turn be out of balance as well. There'll be redness, wrinkles accompanying, and dehydration. So we need to look at various delivery systems that is going to be penetrating into the skin. But being the largest organ, we need to respect certain aspects of the skin. We need to respect the barrier, the microbiome, the acid mantle. And this is also where our choice of delivery systems has been carefully thought about when it comes to the skin and the histology and the layout of the skin. So our first one is our golden pH, and I'm sure you would have heard about this one when you first came onto Nimue education. When we look at the word pH, that is the potential of hydrogen ions. And basically what it means, it is the measurement of acidity or alkalinity. And if we think about the skin, our desired pH of the skin should be between 4.5 and 5.75. That is a slightly acidic pH, and it is going to create a protection mechanism for the skin. Anything over 7 is going to be alkaline. And if it is alkaline, it will then lead to less protection, which in turn will be also inflammation and breakouts because the skin is not able to protect against invasions on the surface. If the skin pH is going too far below an ideal healthy acidic pH, we then have the extreme of redness and sensitization and irritation. So we need to make sure that our skin barrier and our acid mantle and our microbiome is going to protect the surface of the skin, blocking out germs, pollution, bacteria, but still locking in moisture and lipids. So when we look at alpha hydroxy acids being the key foundation behind the Nimue brand, we looked at the golden pH, a pH of 3, being that pH providing maximum stimulation and penetration with minimum irritation. And we know that in retail of Nimue, phase 1, our pH of our products will be approximately 4.5. In phase 2, we go lower to 3.5. And then our professional treatment, particularly our bioactive complex, is providing the skin with a pH of 3. So the lower we go with a pH from 4.5 to 3.5 to 3, we have a more advanced and a more effective penetration, and ultimately this will lead to superior rejuvenation. So in terms of delivery, when a pH of a product is lower, it is going to be able to facilitate rejuvenation. The further low down than the pH scale the product becomes, the more rejuvenation it is going to create within the skin. And in that way, our golden pH is seen to be a delivery system. So what else does Nimue consider when it looks at our alpha hydroxy acids and ensures that it's safe and effective for the skin? Well, firstly, the triple combination. We use combination of lactic, citric, and glycolic acid. And the concentration from phase 1, which is up to 7%, then going to phase 2, which is up to 10%, and then your phase 3 professional treatments, which would be up to 15%. We considered the strength. pH in phase 1 would be 4.5, phase 2 would be 3.5, and phase 3 would be 3. And then, of course, we need to also ensure that we buffer so that we don't keep our acids too low in its sort of raw formulation state. We need to add a low alkaline solution to keep that pH stabilized so that it is more comfortable, more effective on the skin. And then also the time of application. In professional treatments, we would need to neutralize our peeling solution, and that is based on the time that that solution is left on the skin. And then you would neutralize it by using our Neutralizer Plus. So we definitely need to think about our golden pH, but making sure that it is safe and effective for the skin. We also need to look at the molecular size of the acids, and that's another consideration when it comes to the triple combination, is if we think about glycolic acid, even though it has a lower pH, our molecular weight, it's a very small molecular size, so it's able to penetrate deeper into the skin. Whereas if we look at citric acid, for example, it has a higher molecular weight, so it's larger in molecular size, which means it will work closer towards the surface of the skin. And in that way, we are able to work through the various layers in terms of rejuvenation, exfoliation, brightening of the skin. Our next delivery system is micro-encapsulation. Now, before we look into micro-encapsulation, we just need to look at the cell, the functioning of the cell. Our cells, basically the structure of the cells is that we have a cell membrane. Within the cell, you find your cytoplasm, many different other organelles, as well as your powerhouse, your mitochondria. Then you have the cell nucleus. Within the nucleus, you have your DNA and the genes, which actually dictates as to what proteins is required. So, for example, when there is a degradation or a lack of collagen, elastin, it is our genes that's going to communicate and to say, this is what needs to be increased in terms of synthesis. So, of course, as we said, it is directly our cell functioning is helping to replace and replenish. And in the case of the cell nucleus, it is our genes. But how do we take an ingredient and allow it to enter into the skin and its cells and be able to send that message and trigger that gene into stimulating the production of collagen and elastin? And that is where microencapsulation also comes in. Now, the lipid membrane of the skin, I'd like you to just keep this in mind because this is very important for the next few delivery systems. The outer layer of the cell is what we call the bilayer lipid membrane. And this is a phospholipid membrane, which is comprised of two parts, a head and a tail. The head loves water, the tail loves oil. So just keep this in mind when we are discussing our delivery systems, because an encapsulated form of delivery system is basically very much the same structure as the skin cell bilipid layer. You can see that there is an outer head and an inner tail. So, of course, this is very important when it comes to taking that unique ingredient into the skin. So microencapsulation is tiny particles or droplets surrounded by this coating, and it carries ingredients such as vitamins A, C, and E, which may easily become oxidized, or retinol, which on its own can be very aggressive and unstable. So it helps as a mechanism to prevent irritation on the skin. And with the microencapsulation, it allows for a slow release of actives into the skin. An advantage is that allows for that active to be stable, to be more efficient. Some ingredients, they do not like to be in a formulation together. So if certain ingredients are encapsulated, it will then be easily accessed in a formulation and be functioning within the skin. A microencapsulation also prevents oxidation or decomposition of that ingredient. It enhances, lengthens the shelf life of the product, and it also reduces irritancy of certain ingredients on the skin. And it allows for that ingredients to be slowly released over an extended period of time. Now, I'm just going to give you an example of vitamin C in a microencapsulated format, particularly our magnesium ascorbyl phosphate, which you'll find in your Nimue TDS hyperpigmented and in your fader range. So we have chosen a chondroitin sulfate encapsulation, which is able to take a great amount of vitamin C or your magnesium ascorbyl phosphate ingredient. And the beauty of this form of microencapsulation is that on the skin, these little flexible round capsules goes out of shape, enters into the skin, and then reshapes, allowing that effective release of vitamin C where it is needed. So it's safe and it's controlled, and it's really a more advanced, effective way of allowing vitamin C to enter into the skin in a stable manner. Now we look at liposomes. So liposomes is something that you probably be familiar with. It is a microscopic fluid-filled sphere, and it takes substances, whether it be into the cell, around the cell, in between different parts of the cell. Now, a liposome also is made up of phospholipids, which is the same material or the same as the cell membrane, where you have the head, which is loving water, and the tail, which is attracted and loves oils or lipids. So you can see this is the structure of a liposome, and in the center, you will have your active ingredient. Now, how does this work? Again, I just want to refer you to the structure of the cell membrane. So think about that double bilipid membrane having the head, which is water-loving, and the tail, which is oil-loving. Now, when a liposome is entering into the skin and its target area is, for example, into the skin cell to deliver its active ingredient and message, the head of the liposome is attracted to the head, to the water within the skin cell. So, of course, it allows for a natural release of the active because the heads are connecting, and then the ingredient will be released into the cell nucleus, and then the oil-loving part of the liposome will be forming part of the cell membrane, making that membrane more stronger, more stable, and just increasing its protection. So a wonderful way as to how a liposome can work. So the benefits is that it also enhances the ingredient stability and efficacy. It again also allows for ingredients to be combined in a formulation if certain ingredients are in a liposome encapsulation. It helps to prevent oxidation. It helps to enhance the shelf life and also reduce irritancy of certain ingredients. Then a nanosome. Now, nanosome is a very much similar structure as that of a liposome, but it is definitely smaller. Now, with Nimue, we use a nano-emulsion for 2 of our serums, allowing those ingredients chosen for that serum to get into the skin in a better, more deeper penetration. So, of course, it is a unique way that we can ensure that those ingredients are getting where they have to go. And nanosomes generally are up to 20 times smaller than a liposome. And with the visual, you can actually have an idea of the diameter between a nanosome and that of a liposome. So it's in fact up to 1,000 times smaller than the diameter of a human hair. So just to visualize, it will only be able to be seen under a microscope. And where it differs is the composition and the manufacturing process. Then we have a cyclodextrin system. Now, this is, if we think of our problematic range, we have always spoken about our encapsulated tea tree oil, and that is in a cyclodextrin delivery system. So its structure is like a little donut shape, and then, of course, it holds the active ingredients within its shape. So a cyclodextrin delivery system, the actual system itself does not penetrate the skin. However, it takes the active, so for example, tea tree oil, and it deposits it into the skin, slowly releases the active, and then the delivery system itself remains on the surface of the skin, and like a sponge, it absorbs the excess oil and provides the skin with a more matte appearance. Later, towards the end of the presentation, I'll explain where we would find certain of our delivery systems. So, as we said, it is slowly releasing the active. It is, if we think of tea tree oil, it prevents tea tree oil from going rancid and giving off a really sour odor. So it prevents oxidation. It also prevents irritation of that raw ingredient as to if it was going to be included on its own. And it allows us to encapsulate a larger amount of active. So in the case of our tea tree, we use the cyclodextrin delivery system so we can have a larger amount of tea tree oil in our product. Then peptides. Peptides are naturally in the skin. And this is another one where we think, is it a delivery system? But peptides are cellular messages. It carries a message into the cell and communicates that certain structures, certain proteins needs to be reproduced. And of course, the body, the skin will then start going into replication of that particular aspect of the skin. So we use peptides to stimulate a natural functioning within the skin. Peptides are also easily absorbed into the skin. And how it works, it also goes into the cell nucleus and it communicates with the DNA and it says what proteins are needed to help with cell damage that's possibly taken place within the skin. Now, there's many different types of peptides, and Nimue has used many forms of peptides. You'd have tripeptides, you'd have octopeptides, hexapeptides, and it all depends on the number of amino acids within the molecule. So with a peptide, it is a chain of more than two or more amino acids, which is replicating what should be happening within the skin. And because it has a lower molecular weight, it easily penetrates into the skin and it basically boosts the skin cells with energy and gets that message in so that the repair process can start taking place. So it helps to really preserve and look after the functional and the structural aspects of the skin. Polymeric delivery systems. Now, this delivery system we started talking about with our SRC problematic and SRC hyperpigmented peels. So with our polymeric delivery system, this is where we have 5 or more sugar chains bonded together. And in that sugar structure, we have our active ingredients immersed in it. So I like to think of exactly like that visual is showing. It's like a jelly shot structure. And then, of course, what happens is we have our active ingredients that's immersed in the structure. And for example, our hyperpigmented SRC and our problematic SRC, we use the sponge applicator to manipulate and massage that peel into the skin. And by doing this, we break down those sugar bonds, releasing the actives into the skin. Now, polymeric delivery systems are also lower in molecular weight, so it can penetrate easily. It also is allowing us to slowly release our chosen ingredients into the skin. Our choice of polymeric systems, why? It's because it's safe and effective. Because it provides an even peeling. It is superficially working on the skin. And also it provides for an immediate penetration and action of our peeling agents. And those ingredients are going to be delivered into the skin with minimal or no irritation and also providing us with excellent results. Then our amphoteric alpha-hydroxy acids. Now, we know that Nimue prides ourselves on our alpha-hydroxy acids, our triple combination. We have also taken one step further and introduced an amino acid within that complex, and we have now an amphoteric alpha-hydroxy acid complex. This allows for the slow release of our alpha-hydroxy acids into the skin. So when the alpha-hydroxy acids are combined with this amino acids, it allows for the slow delivery of the alpha-hydroxy acids, but it also slows down the potential of irritation. You're actually eliminating that. So we will find it in our active lotion, our multi-night plus, our Nimue night, for example. And even though the amphoteric part is included in the complex, it does not change what the functions of the alpha-hydroxy acids will be. So it will still rejuvenate, exfoliate, boosting collagen synthesis. It is just providing us with a safer, more effective method of delivery of our alpha-hydroxy acids into the skin. Our second last delivery system is our liquid crystal delivery system. This you will find in our pre and post serum and in our Nimue TDS products. Now, if we think of the texture of pre and post serum, when you apply it onto the skin, it's actually quite an interesting texture. It feels very liquidy, but then also it feels almost like emollient on the surface of the skin. So your liquid crystal system provides that sensorial aspect to the product, but also increasing the amount of water within the skin. So we have this hydrosomes that is created with a liquid crystal system. It holds water and then further pushes oils deeper into the skin to then further improve the bilipid membrane of the skin cells, and then, of course, complementing the skin with water. And we know that the more water we have in the skin, the better the functioning of the skin will be. Lastly, our polarized water. Now, when we refer to polarized water, the water has been ionized. So there is a better absorption of water through the skin wall cells if the water is polarized or ionized. So what happens is you have a greater amount of water in the skin. So it helps to complement with barrier health, but also we can then allow for an even distribution of ingredients that we'd like to penetrate into the skin. So, for example, polarized water in the fader range, it allows for an even distribution of our fading products that we are going to apply for a hyperpigmented skin. And then, of course, our environmentally damaged SRC has the polarized water, and that allows for an even distribution of the acids within our SRC for environmentally damaged skin. So as the peel is applied to the skin, we know that the acids are not going to congregate in certain areas only, but when it's polarized, it is going to be even distribute across the skin. So where do we find our various delivery systems? With pH, basically it is most of our products that have our alpha hydroxy acids in. So even though we have only bioactive complex, pH will also be our 35% glycolic peel. It will be our SRCs. And we can see it's across phase 1, phase 2, and phase 3. You won't find the delivery system pH in for fader. It's not here because fader range does not have alpha hydroxy acids. Micro-encapsulation, you will find in quite a few of our moisturizers, day and night, as well as our purifying serum, fader serum, and TDS hyperpigmented. Liposomes in the form of our liposomal vesicles, you will find in the AI products, day and night cream, serum, and eye serum. Nanosomes, as mentioned earlier, we have the nano emulsion, which is found in our anti-aging serum and our super hydrating serum. So it allows for the penetration of the actives within these two products. Our cyclodextrin delivery system, you'll find in Purifier Night, SRC problematic. And with the Purify Night is the tea tree oil. With the SRC problematic is the azelaic acid. So again, the benefits is the active is released into the skin and your cyclodextrin delivery system is left on the surface, the shell, and of course it mops up extra oil and allows the skin to appear matte following use. Polymeric, you'll find it as mentioned in our SRC problematic, SRC hyperpigmented. Peptides, there are many peptides that we have. And as you can see, it's in skin reformer, it's in our anti-aging serum, anti-aging eye cream, anti-aging leave-on mask. So many different products of Nimue that incorporates peptides. Our amphoteric alpha hydroxy acids, It is our Nimue Night, Multi-Night Plus, Active Lotion, and then our SRCs for problematic and hyperpigmented skin, slowly releasing the alpha-hydroxy acids into the skin. You won't find Amphoteric in our environmentally damaged SRC and Smart Reverse Surfacer because we want that glycolic acid to quickly penetrate into the skin and start the rejuvenation within the skin. Liquid crystal system you'll find in your TDSs, all 4 of them, and pre and post. And then our polarized water in our day faders, day fader, night fader, day fader plus, night fader plus, fader serum, and in our AI range as well. So that brings us to the end of this presentation. I do hope that it has given you better clarity for the Nimue delivery systems and allows you to see why we view certain delivery systems and the importance of looking at various delivery systems, not just choosing 1 or 2, but actually looking at a variation of delivery systems to enable our advanced high technology ingredients working effectively within the skin. So thank you so much for joining.
Visit our website to claim your free trial pack or schedule a consultation or in-salon demonstration.